Welcome back to the most professional sports channel on YouTube. Welcome back to Swivel Chair Sports. I'm your host, Zach Circlebark Bertle. Here with us today, Aaron and Joe. Go and say hi, guys.
Hi.
Alright, so in this video, we'll be doing our Week 4 winners and losers of the NFL season. We'll be each going through, going back and forth, giving out each a winner and a loser. Just keep going round and round till we eventually run out of people to talk about.
Yeah, and if you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment. Let us know what you think.
Yep, your subscription means a lot and helping us reach our goal of 250 subscribers. But back to the video. So starting off with our winners of the week, I'm gonna pull out probably the most recent and one of the more obvious winners, Jared Goff for the Detroit Lions.
Oh, mine.
Yeah, last night obviously battled the Seattle Seahawks Monday Night Football, and was the much more entertaining game of the two that you had to choose from, as the Titans and Dolphins was just a snooze fest up until the Titans decided to just put it on them, and then cost me my fantasy matchup, handing it off to Tony Pollard at the goal line, fourth down, with less than 30 seconds to go, but that's beside the point. Back to Jared Goff. Jared Goff.
How much did you lose by?
1 point. I lost by a single point. Single point. Because they ended it on. So I guess the loser of the week is me in fantasy football. Jared Goff, though, last night obviously led his team in a shootout over the Seattle Seahawks. I think he only had 2 touchdowns, but a perfect 18 for 18, over 200 yards on only 18 passes, which is incredible on its own. I think the most pass attempts by a quarterback in a single game without throwing an incompletion, which is just insane. Offensive line really held up against a pretty good defensive Seattle defensive front, obviously with potential defensive rookie of the year nominee up there in Byron Murphy. But yeah, Jared Goff was just too good for him, man, and looks like he's leading that Detroit Lions team into another, formidable season. Probably going to be another playoff team, and right now I think they're the best team in the NFC, to be honest with you. So with the Niners going through the injuries they've had to sustain, really the Lions seem like the number 1 team over in that conference, in my opinion, right now. So Jared Goff's a big reason why.
Yeah, and I mean, since you stole Jared Goff took the easy one from the rest of us, I'll go ahead and throw, Geno Smith. He had a pretty good game himself. That offense is out there fighting for their lives because that defense is not very good. So this could be a fun team to watch for the rest of the season. Lots of offensive production because they have to.
Yeah.
My first winner, I feel like might be another obvious one, goes to Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. I mean, Commanders being 3-1, I don't think they could be happier than where they're at right now. I mean, Jaden Daniels, we talked about the primetime game last week. He goes out there, 4 incompletions against the Cardinals. I mean, when it comes down to it, Aaron was big on Jaden Daniels. I remember coming out into the draft, that was his favorite quarterback. But I mean, if you just look at the situation he's in and Cliff Kingsbury's, college offense, I mean, it's doing wonders for them, and they're 3-1. So got them actually looking like a playoff team right now. And that NFC East is wide open for anybody to take.
They're winning it right now, if I'm not mistaken, leading the division. But my first loser of the week, on that same side of the country, a little further up north, I got the New York Jets offensive line with just a pitiful performance this week against the Denver Broncos, allowing Aaron Rodgers to get sacked 5 times. Aaron Rodgers doesn't get sacked 5 times. That's an abnormality. To allow that to happen is just insane. That offensive line was pitiful. And then on top of that, I think they also had 5 false starts as well. One of Aaron Rodgers' biggest weapons is his ability to switch up cadences, get defenses to jump off sides, get those free plays. Obviously, it's stat talk to death now. He's the NFL career leader in touchdowns thrown on a free play or whatever the stat actually is. So for the offensive line to not be on the same page with him as far as cadence goes is a huge problem and really limits the the danger that Aaron Rodgers presents to opposing defenses. Offensive line has to be better. Robert Saleh was talking, basically blaming it on, not really blaming it on Aaron Rodgers, but saying that the offensive line just might not be good enough to keep up with that kind of stuff. And if that's the case, then the Jets are in for a long season, because without that, Aaron Rodgers, with his, being 40 years old now, not quite as athletic as he was in his prime, he needs all of the, advantages he can get. And if he's not able to switch up that cadence like he's been, able to use throughout his illustrious career, then I don't really see how he's going to be able to take that Jets to their full potential. And it really puts a ceiling on what this team can do this season, in my opinion. So that offensive line's got to.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention they only rushed for 2.8 yards per carry. Breece Hall 10 carries, 4 yards. So it's not just the pass rush that they're struggling with. They're struggling with their rushing attack as well.
Absolutely.
14 quarterback hits, by the way.
Ridiculous.
That's outside of the sack. Can't win like that.
Yeah, my first loser is the Chiefs. I mean, we won the game, but it was ugly, sloppy win. We're down our top 2 receivers, and it seems like we're back to square one from last year. So they need to make a move here and get somebody to throw to other than Kelsey, because I don't want to have to be relying on Watson again all season.
Yeah.
I mean, he also could have been suspended for 4 or 6 games, and this wouldn't have happened also. Not wishing that on him. I don't wish that on him.
Von Miller had his ordeal last year and is just not getting suspended, so I don't see why people want to rush into the Rashee Rice thing. People are arguing that and Rashee Rice is still able to play while Von Miller was able to play, or would have been if he'd have been healthy.
Forgot about Von Miller's, actually. I mean, usually these things don't happen fast anyways.
Right.
So, I like giving you guys a hard time, but they really don't. Yeah, the investigation that the NFL does takes them forever anyway, so. With that being said, actually, just tying it into the game, my next loser was the Chargers. Simply off the fact they went up 10-0 quick and early against back-to-back champs, and then didn't do anything the rest of the entire game. I mean, yes, it's a big deal because it's the Chiefs. It's also a big deal because they're in the same division, and any win you can get over the Chiefs is a big win for your team. But to go up 10 that early and then not do anything the rest of the game, I mean, you can't expect to just put up, 10 or 14 points and expect the Chiefs to lose. So, I mean, credit to the Chiefs for pulling it out, as ugly as it was, but Chargers had that thing early, and especially with the injury and stuff that eventually happened to Rice. Like, I mean, they had their chance, but they couldn't capitalize on anything at all. So, that was it.
Yeah. Patrick Mahomes, 12-0 when trailing by 10 points.
Undefeated.
Absolutely wild.
Yeah. We need to get down by 10. We need to get down 10-0 to start every game. That way we never lose.
No, let's not do that. It's not a great strategy.
He's bound to win them all, right?
To kind of add on to that game that y'all both brought up, my next winner actually is Noah Gray. Second tight end for the Chiefs. They said before the season they were planning on getting him more involved in the offense this year. And it seemed like there wasn't really a path for that early on because, I mean, you had so many mouths to feed, or at least we thought we were going to have so many mouths to feed when we had, we assumed Hollywood Brown was going to play. We found out before the season started that he was out. So, okay, take him away. Still got Rashee Rice. You still got Xavier Worthy. Still got Travis Kelce. Isaiah Pacheco. Pacheco goes down, obviously, so now you're down him. Rashee Rice goes down, now you're down him. All of a sudden, Noah Gray's probably your third best pass catcher. And he kind of showed that this past week, but not by, getting targeted only 4 times, but tied for the second most on the team in targets. Caught all 4 of them for 40 yards, an efficient 40 yards. A couple of those on really big plays as well. And I just expect the Chiefs to have to utilize him a lot more as the season goes on without Rice, unless they really get, another big name receiver through the trade market this season. Noah Gray's probably going to be in for a big workload. His career high in receiving yards in a single season is 305. That was last year. 299 the season before that. So he's basically a 300-yard receiver throughout his career. I could see him easily cracking 500 before the year's over, and maybe even flirting with 750, depending on exactly how involved he's going to be in the offense. But I think he's going to have to take a huge step forward as far as production goes now that Rice is down. And obviously going to probably see a lot more targets come his way now. So.
Yeah, and speaking of number 2 receivers, Joe, how about that Darnell Washington? A couple catches at him, big hurdle there from the big guy, looking good down there. 2 catches, 31 yards, I believe, dragging a couple defenders along. So he's looking all right for a big fella down there. But yeah, I'll go with Derrick Henry for my next winner. Finished 1 yard shy of his 7th career 200-yard game, which is just absolute monster numbers. Kind of like Burke was saying before we started recording, that Ravens team, after that first offensive play, just took the reins and never looked back. Yeah. Kind of like Buffalo did last week to Jacksonville. So Ravens offense seems to be back and humming, especially when they feed Derrick Henry, and congrats to Derrick Henry on that almost historic
day. Almost 200 yards. Almost 200. If he didn't fumble at the goal line.
Was that back-to-back weeks of almost, I think, near 25 carries? And what do they have? They got back-to-back wins. He's got 150-plus yards in each thing. Yeah. I mean, I don't like it as a Steelers fan, but man, it was fun to watch, though. My next winner, I don't know if it would shock anybody, but mine is the Seahawks. Even though they lost to Detroit yesterday, their first couple wins were the Broncos, Patriots, and Dolphins. 3 teams, all sorry. No playoff hopes really for any of them. One of those 3 teams is on a loser for the week as well, but the Seahawks, there was a lot of questions on whether they were actually good. Was it just the competition they were playing? Anyone who watched the game knows that final score was closer, or the actual game was closer than what that final score ended up being. I mean, they were going blow for blow for the second and third quarters, back and forth. And
that DK Metcalf 2-point conversion was a catch.
Yeah, I agree. It was a heck of a game in Detroit. I think everyone around the league respects Detroit and knows they're going to be a playoff team. And especially the way the Rams look and the Niners are banged up with injuries, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked to see Seattle kind of keep this rolling. They showed a lot to me yesterday, just playing the Lions as good as they did.
Yeah.
That offense is good. Worried about the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, the defense can be good sometimes, but because I think the Cardinals had a good offense and they were able to stunt them, but yeah, I don't know if they can be consistent is the real problem. But my next loser kind of picks back off of the one you were just talking about, Aaron. Got Sean McDermott, head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Yet another big game where the Bills just come up short. Obviously, I don't think his job's in jeopardy right now. Started the season off 3-1. Could have started off 4-0, and that would have been huge, as well as knocking the Ravens down to 1-3 and making their rest of the season.
Weren't you calling for his job last year? Or was that me?
I definitely was. Yeah, I was. But they got off to a good start. So I like in reality, I still think they probably should have looked another way. But I think you can't fire him right now. He's not on the hot seat right now. He started off too well. But I do think that he's got to start winning some of these big games, man. That's been the problem with this Bills team. Really ever since they started getting competitive, is they can't really win the important games against those other Super Bowl contending teams. Typically talk about playoff matchups. Obviously, it's only week 4, so the Ravens-Bills game this year wasn't not a ton of implications were put on this game necessarily. But like I said, had an opportunity to basically take a stranglehold of the AFC East. Now you got to kind of worry about the Jets looming, only being a game behind as opposed to 2 games behind. And then on top of that, like I said, the Ravens being probably the only other AFC contender you got to worry about outside of Kansas City, with Cincinnati being starting off as poorly as they have. You could have knocked them down to Cincinnati's level, starting off 1-3 for both of those 2 teams. Instead, just taking a really bad loss, starting off really, really ugly. Kind of seemed like you weren't prepared for this one. Let Derrick Henry just take the first snap, 80 some odd yards to the house, and boom, you're already down 7-0. So I think that kind of comes down to head coaching. When you get beat that early in a game, I mean, this game was over early, and it never really got close. The Bills, had a couple opportunities here and there to make it a game and never could really capitalize when it mattered. So just really disappointed in what the Bills did this week, and I kind of chalk that up to the maybe get a little too high on their own farts, as I think the saying is. Not sure.
On their own farts?
Sure, yeah.
I think there's something a little bit wrong with that, but we get the sentiment.
Yeah. Start off 3-0, feel a little cocky.
Staying along that same trend, head coaches, throwing in Kevin Stefanski as a loser there. You could have Baker Mayfield as your quarterback, who showed promise there for a little bit before you threw him for 50 pass attempts a game with a torn labrum, despite having Nick Chubb. And instead, I know it's not all on him. That front office is partially to blame as well. But instead, you have a quarterback who's played worse than Baker Mayfield and eats up a much larger percent of cap. So I think he's partially to blame. The Browns' offense looks, like Joe said, stinky. So I've got Kevin Stefanski there in the losers column.
Well, I'm glad you said it, Aaron. That was my next loser. Is the Browns. And this is definitely probably a personal thing, but the Browns suck. They suck. I remember when Baker took them to the playoffs, and they even beat the Steelers. Unfortunately, everyone was, the Browns are the next best team. They're the best team in the division. Blah, 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 blah. They haven't been close to that since that happened. They had their little run of glory. Baker was the guy. Now they're just back to being the sorry-ass organization that they've always been. Paying these guys, and some of these guys, not all these guys, but paying some of these guys and just wasting them away. I mean, you're only as good as your staff, your coaches. So I'm not blaming everything on the players. Not blaming everything on the coaches, because there's a lot of shit to go around for everybody in that organization. So with that being said, yeah, I'm just leaving it at the Browns are the Browns, and shouldn't expect anything more from them.
Well, not to pile more shit onto the shitty franchise that is the Cleveland Browns, but my next winner was Baker Mayfield, actually. Because
there you go.
Another incredible performance from him. Believe he threw for over 300 yards yet again. No turnovers. 2 touchdowns, maybe 3. Hang on, let me pull it up.
2 touchdowns.
Yeah, threw for 347 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. And also ran a touchdown in. Oh, he may have had a fumble loss, but who cares? He just beat the shit out of the Philadelphia Eagles. Once again, similar to how they did last regular season, I believe, because they beat them up in the playoffs. That's what it was. Yeah, they beat the shit out of them in the playoffs last year, so got a rematch with them. Did it once again, seemed to have their number recently. And now number 6 in receiving or passing yards for the season. Number 2 in passing touchdowns for the season. Number 1 is Sam Darnold, because, he's a MVP front runner. But yeah, I mean, clearly Baker Mayfield's won the divorce with Cleveland. Has for a while now. I don't really think that's news. But just continues to tear it up down there in Tampa Bay with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and that offensive line just seems to be really good at protecting him as well. Defenses, good enough, even despite some injuries of recent note. But yeah, I mean, Baker Mayfield just looks like a completely different player than he did during his Cleveland days right now, and could possibly be on his way to MVP considerations if he keeps playing this way. So, great week once again for the Bake Show.
Yeah. NFC South winners. No, I don't think you can really say that they're the worst division of football anymore. I mean,
No.
the Saints and Falcons, they played a good close game yesterday. The Panthers, now that they've made their QB change, played a couple of competitive games.
I thought they were going to beat them.
And obviously, the Bucs are playoff hopefuls. So, some really good football being played down there in the NFC South.
Yeah, worst division, AFC North right now. Record-wise. Record-wise. I want to be clear there.
Record-wise. Well, it's not our fault. We also have the Bengals playing the way they are too. Coming from the top of the leaderboard, AFC West.
Hey, not a single team's 1-3. Not a single team's 1-3. 2-2 or better, baby. 2-2 or better, baby.
Broncos suck.
2-2, baby. They're 2-2. I believe. They beat the Ravens. What you mean?
Anyways, whatever what Burke's comment was. Yeah, let's just stick with the South Division. One of my winners was the Falcons this week. They're 2-2, but I mean, you consider their first game was an 8-point loss to the Steelers. Then they go beat the Eagles with a Kirk Cousins, game-winning drive to lead that, and then they lose a close one to the Chiefs. Last week, not this past week. Last week they lose a close game to the Chiefs, which I didn't feel like was honestly that close. As I was watching it, I felt like the Chiefs kind of had control of it for the most part, but and then they pull out a close. What'd you say?
But I'm glad you felt that way because I didn't.
Really? Well, towards the end, yeah, I kind of get it, but I felt like you guys had it for the most part. I trust your guys' defense enough, at least in those situations. Bad play calling also helps at the end of the game. But then they win a close one against the Saints in division. I mean, I don't think the Falcons are anything special. I don't think they're like a threat to anything personally. I mean, it's a win considering the two losses that they have, the most that they've lost by is 8 points.
Well,
I mean, they're in one possession.
Both their wins are last-minute wins, like drives in the last minute of the game to win the game. So, there's something about the clutch factor there with Kirk Cousins, I feel like.
That's Kirk Cousins football, baby.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up, yeah. Just like you said, it's close games, but they're within one possession of every game, and the 2 wins are game-winning drives put together by Kirk Cousins, which I don't think they've had a quarterback since Matt Ryan being an MVP where they felt confident having the ball last.
Yeah.
So, good for the Falcons. Looking up for them right now. Kirk Cousins is doing his thing.
Yeah. My next loser is also a team down there kind of in the southeast. Will Levis. Probably just lost his job, at least temporarily, possibly. We all thought it was impossible.
They said he's still...
Really?
He's still the starter, yeah.
Well, despite that, he's still a loser because despite the wins, yet another meme moment for him where it looks like he shit his pants on the sidelines. So, this dude cannot catch a break right now, man. Even in wins, he's losing. I feel so bad for the dude. I don't really know what to say other than I'm sorry. Try to be better. It's possible this is all my fault for trusting you, putting my faith in you, because similar things happened with Daniel Jones not too long ago. So this could all be my fault, Will, and I'm sorry about that if it is. Gosh,
How can you trust a man who eats a banana peel? That's what I want to know. How do you put faith in a man that puts mayonnaise in his coffee?
Seems like a funny guy.
Two very questionable decisions.
He seems like a real funny guy. I don't know, man, but I feel his shoulder didn't look good before or after the injury. So, I don't know where to go from here, but it's not looking great for my guy.
Yeah, speaking of struggling quarterbacks, Anthony Richardson.
I thought about it.
For a guy that's, it's crucial. Everybody, kind of expected when he was drafted that he's going to be a project quarterback and not come in and have like immediate success. So it's very important for a guy like him to get reps, not playing very many games in college. So he just needs to learn to take care of himself. If you can't get those reps if you're refusing to go down and you get taken out by an NFL linebacker.
I mean, if his coach wouldn't call a fucking read option the play after he gets hurt, then maybe that would also help, probably. So,
well, maybe he just needs to know his body and hand the ball off. Be like, I can't do this right now, But I mean, gotta learn to when to take the hit and when not to. In week 4 in a sort of meaningless game, not the time to take a big hit.
Not the time or the team. And I'm not just saying that as a Steelers fan, but that's not really the defense you feel like you want to go head to head with.
Yeah.
And expect to win that physical type of battle.
Yeah.
But if Anthony Richardson stays in the game, Steelers walk out that game with 14-point win with 3 turnovers and another 40% completion percentage game by him. But no, instead, I'm just going to go ahead and give a winner to Joe fucking Flacco. Just doing his thing. Just former Super Bowl champ and starter. Did what he did last year with the Browns, which is, I think, the only reason the Browns had any success last year. Because if he wasn't the backup, they would have been just as sorry as they look right now. But, comes in the game. You can tell he's a 15-year vet or whatever number he's at now. Did exactly what he needed to do. No turnovers. That's the first game this year. The Colts have had no turnovers, but by their quarterback specifically. And look at the result. So, congrats, Joe Flacco, and somehow still beating the Steelers. Not even in the division.
He could have been your quarterback this season.
Could have been.
Well, that wouldn't have been very good either. He doesn't move well, and our old line is not like the Colts, so that might have been career ending for the guy instead.
My next winner, I got Kevin O'Connell, head coach for the Minnesota Vikings. Kind of just took the lead in head coach of the year running.
The guy, by the way,
in my opinion, I think it was between him and Matt LaFleur through 3 weeks. 2 of them happened to match up in week 4, and O'Connell won. In the first half, it looked like it was going to be pretty handedly, and then the defense decided to let the Packers get back into it, but ended up still coming away with the win, starting off 4-0 against everybody's odds. And so I feel like Kevin O'Connell really just kind of took control of that head coach of the year race at the moment. Obviously kind of turned Sam Darnold's career around this year with how well he's been playing, leading the league in touchdowns and up there in yards as well. Helps to have Justin Jefferson, now Jordan Addison back, and TJ Hawkinson should be coming back here soon as well. I mean, this Vikings team looks formidable. Looks like it could be legit, and I don't see how KOC can't win head coach of the year if they end up making the playoffs. So,
I've got a loser, and it's the Raiders and the way they've handled this whole Devontae Adams situation. Bringing him in because he wanted to play with his college teammate Derek Carr.
Yeah.
And then trading Derek Carr away the next season. Obviously, that didn't make him happy. And then the quarterback in offensive struggles that they had last season, where he's just like, just get the ball in my hands, and they couldn't. So they struggled, and the team struggles early this season so far again. And he says he prefers to be traded. So that's a huge loss for the Raiders, but a big win for probably the Jets. So congrats to the Jets, or probably, Eagles somehow will finesse their way into Davante Adams. So congrats to one of those two teams on getting a good receiver.
I like that point here about Davante Adams. Especially, did you guys see the interview today with Antonio Pierce? They asked him a question about Max Crosby, Davante Adams, and Michael Mayer, and he referred to Max as Max, and then called Davante 17. He just left it at that. I mean, that's easily reading into the situation, but guarantee that dude goes to another team, a better team with a better quarterback, and watch him be Davante Adams that we saw. Questions asked. But I'll go back-to-back winners. I did a winner last one. Burks, it's actually following right on what Burke said with O'Connell. Mine was just the Vikings again. It's easy to say when they're one of only 2 undefeated teams left. But I mean, Darnold playing the way he has, and then he gets Jordan Addison back, who, no big deal, only had 3 catches for 72 yards and 2 total touchdowns in the game. Hawkinson, around the corner, coming back. Like, Darnold's not even playing with his best weapons. And I think one of the more underrated things for the Vikings, who's also like another partial winner in this, is Aaron Jones.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think he has over 90 rushing yards in 3 out of the 4 games, I believe. I think it was like maybe against the Niners or something that he didn't, but 3 out of 4 games over 90 yards, 100-something in this past, or 2 weeks ago. He has another like 150, close to 150 in receiving yards. I mean, not like Sam Darnold's doing it with a bunch of nobodies, but nonetheless, Aaron Jones, people thought he was on the downhill, leaving Green Bay. All he does is go to Minnesota and looks like the Aaron Jones we've been seeing the past couple years, which is kind of scary considering the way the Vikings defense has played up until second half this week.
My last loser I've got is Nick Sirianni. Eagles starting off 2-2. And at some point, man, if the Eagles don't have the season they're supposed to have, heads are going to roll. Jalen Hurts just got paid not too long ago. It's not going to be Big Doms. They just promoted him. They paid Jalen Hurts not too long ago. So out of the big 3 of that organization, there's only one guy left. And that's Nick Sirianni. And getting off to 2-2 start when you probably could easily be 0-4, not great. And I don't think Jalen Hurts is a huge fan of you. They're going to pick him over you if it comes down to it. So I think they need all the wins they can get. And this week was a chance to, get a little get back against the team that knocked you out of the playoffs last year, the team that ended your season last year, and to lose in the fashion that they did for the second time in a row is not a good look. So Sirianni really got to turn that team around, or he may be looking for a job this next offseason.
Just to point that out, their next 4 games are the Browns, the Giants, the Bengals, and the Jags.
They have to at least go 3-1.
So that's 3 easy losses right there.
On paper, you would think it's like, okay, for sure 3-1, maybe 4-0.
Yeah.
But like the way it's been going, these next 4 weeks are.
If they're not at least 5-4 after 9, there's a problem. Or 5 and
100%.
whatever,
Math. I've got a loser, and it's punt returners, especially for that early slate of games on Sunday. They just couldn't stay away from the muff. There was one in the Vikings-Packers game. I believe there was one in the Texans game. I think both of those were down by the goal line as well, so it gave the other team real good field position. And you're a special teamer. You gotta hold on to the ball. So, punt returners, stay away from the muff.
If anything, gotta catch it. Gotta catch it. It's like the number one and only job. And I know that as a Steelers fan because we haven't had no electric punt returner in years. So all we do is put back a guy who can catch a ball, and that's about it. So.
Didn't you check go back and catch one? Return one?
Does it all. My last loser is the Dolphins. And, I mean, lose Tua, obviously, that's going to be hurt. That's going to hurt. Skylar Thompson goes out in his first game there. They played with Tyler Huntley last night. The game was a snooze fest regardless, but, I mean, they're just not good. They're not good. And I also think it's like, at the same time, you kind of got to give some credit to Tua in the sense that team definitely is a lot better with him. But, I mean, it just doesn't look good. Like, they're not even being competitive in their games. So they go down as a loser. Hit them and Mike McDaniel just you can't foresee your starting $200-something million quarterback going down. But nonetheless, they don't even look like they're competitive on the field.
Yeah, and that's surprising because that offense is just absolutely stacked. But
exactly, yeah,
you can't get anything from your backup.
You just got to get the ball in their hands and let those Tyreek and Jalen Waddle will make something happen. With the point you just made, Aaron. They got the weapons.
Well, and Tyler Huntley's a Pro Bowl quarterback, so I don't understand how he's able to struggle so much.
Yeah.
Being a Pro Bowl and all.
He'll probably be a Pro Bowl quarterback this year.
He might.
Let him get comfortable and watch what happens.
My last winner.
Or not, maybe it'll happen.
My last winner, I got Cliff Kingsbury. Now, I want to preface this. The Commanders did punt this week. Once. So that's one punt in 3 games. What the fuck? That's mighty impressive from an offense that was anemic last year. Obviously, you got to account for the change at quarterback, of course, but I mean, that offense, as far as the weapons go, it's basically the same fucking team. Offensive line beefed up a little bit more. Way better quarterback, I understand that. But the running backs are essentially the same. You add Austin Eckler, sure, but Brian Robinson Jr. is still getting the bulk of the workload. You actually down a receiver in Curtis Samuel, like 2 receivers, Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dotson, both gone. Terry McLaurin's still there, obviously being the focal point of that receiving game. But they're just finding a way to be successful. Jane Daniels, front runner for Rookie of the Year, a big part because of Kingsbury's offense. And man, he may work himself back into a head coaching position here if he continues to have the success that they're having right now. Because that offense is night and day from what we saw last year. But unless y'all got anything else, I think that'll do it for this episode of the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube, Swivel Chair Sports. I've been your host, Zach Circleberg Burkle. Here goes today, Aaron and Joe. Go and say bye, guys.
Bye.
Cheers.
All right, make sure to hit like and subscribe. If you enjoy our content, make sure to comment down below your biggest winners and losers from Week 4 of the NFL season. And make sure to look back at our channel for any other uploads in the future. But other than that, deuces. Have a good one.
Go Royals.
Go Royals.